Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Rangjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Rangjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopiyana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopiyana Vallabha Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraya Kacharya Stotra Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraya Kacharya Stotra Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 37. And text 37 doesn't have any purport. So we will go forward to 38 and 39. Okay, I'm going to read the 37. Tasmim. Yeah, actually, the Prabhu did that one. Yeah. Well, he sent me a text that was 37, and 38, and 39. Yeah, that's what he said. I have the Pramana right here. Okay, I'm going to read it at 37. Tasmin Sudangvan Nahani Bhagavan Yat Samadhisad Upayat Ashrama Padam Mune Samtam Vratasyatat. O Vidura, they reached the hermitage of the sage who had just completed his vows of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. Text 38 and 39. So the way we're going to do it is I will sing the two verses and then each devotee sing one and the other devotee sings the second one and like that. Otherwise it will be very long process. Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Nyapatam Ashruvindavam Kripaya Samparistasya Prapamne Ripata Brisham Tadvai Bindu Saro Nama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Sivam Britapjalam Maharshi Gana Sevitam Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Nyapatan Ashubindavam Kripaya Samparitasya Prapamne Arpitaya Brisham Tadvai Bindu Saro Nama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Sivam Rita Jalam Maharishi Ganasevitam Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Nyapatan Ashubindavaha Kripaya Sampatritasya Prapamne Arpitaya Brisam Tatvai Bindu Saro Nama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Shrivam Ritabjalam Maharishi Ganasevitam. Please. I mean, just one can read one line and we repeat. That's what we do normally. I just read the whole thing once because two verses together. So Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Yapatam Ashruvindava Davindu Saronama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Yalam Maharshi Gana Sevitam Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Nyapatam Ashuvindavaha Pita Brisam Tadvai Bindu Saro Nama Tadvai Bindu Saro Nama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Shivam Vritagyalam Gana Sevitam Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Yapatam Ashruvindava Kripaya Samparitasya Prapanyarpitaya Brisam Tatvai Bindu Saronama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Shivam Britagyalam Maharishi Gana Sevitam Yasmin Bhagavato Netram Nyapatam Ashruvindavaha Kripaya Samparitasya Prapamne Arpitaya Brisam Tadvai Bindu Saronama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Sivam Pritam Jalam Maharishi Gana Sevitam Yasmin in which Bhagavataha of the Lord Netrat from the eye Nyapatan fell down Ashruvindavaha teardrops Kripaya by compassion Samparitasya who was overwhelmed Prapanne on the surrendered soul Kardama Arpitaya placed upon Brisam extremely that Vai indeed Bindu Saraha lake of tears Nama called Sarasvatya by the river Saraswati Pariplutam overflowed Punyam holy Shiva auspicious Amrita nectar Jalam water Maharishi of great sages Gana by hosts Sevitam served. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The holy lake Bindu Sarovar, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovar because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. Purport. Kardama underwent austerities to gain the causeless mercy of the Lord. And when the Lord arrived there, he was so compassionate that in pleasure she shed tears, which became Bindu Sarovar. Bindu Sarovar, therefore, is worshipped by great sages and learned scholars, because according to the philosophy of the absolute truth, the Lord and the tears from his eyes are not different. Just as drops of perspiration which fell from the toe of the Lord became the sacred Ganges, so teardrops from the transcendental eyes of the Lord became Bindu Sarovar. Both are transcendental entities and are worshipped by great sages and scholars. The water of Bindu Sarovar is described here as Shivamrita Gyala. Shiva means curing. Anyone who drinks the water of Bindu Sarovar is cured of all material diseases. Similarly, anyone who takes his bath in the Ganges also is relieved of all material diseases. These claims are accepted by great scholars and authorities and are still being acted upon even in this fallen age of Kali. Om Ajnana Timiram Dasya Jnanam Jnana Shalakaya Shakshurun Militam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sapadatikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kamta Namostute Tapta Kamchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vamchakalpa Taruvyasya Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yam Pravrayam Tamanupedam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Yuhava Putreti Tan Mayataya Taravo Vinedu Tam Sarvabhuta Hridanam Munimana Tosmi. The holy lake Bindu Sarovar, floated by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovar because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. So Bindu Sarovar lake is considered one of the Pancha Sarovar, one of the 5 most ancient lakes in this universe. And as Prabhupada explains here, it was created by the tears falling from the Lord when he gave darshan to Kardama Muni out of his extreme compassion. So this is a very sacred place. It is also the place where later on we will see that the incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kapila, he explained the moksha jnana or knowledge of Sankhya Yoga to his mother Devahuti in the same place. And also it's the same place where Parashuram performed the Shraddha Matru, the ceremony of Shraddha to his mother, Renuka. And therefore it became a very famous place for doing that. Just like, in India, there is a custom, the system that when the father dies, somebody goes to Gaya, and then he offers Pinda ceremony, for the sake of his father. And then the same thing happens in Bindu Sarovar Lake. People go and offer Pinda ceremony, but for the sake of mother. So this is a very important place of pilgrimage. And you see that during the Kartik Mass, Kartik month, a lot of people come to this place because that's when Kapila spoke the philosophy of Sankhya. It was during the Kartik month. So you'll see that if somebody goes to that place, I have never been there, but I heard from many devotees that there are huge fairs and a lot of people come and they perform so many austerities and pious activities just um, to benefit their mothers. So yeah, and then this is Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is the philosophy of the absolute truth, that the tears or anything that comes from the Lord is not different from Him. This is something that is very difficult to understand for Mayavadis or impersonalists. They cannot understand that anything that comes from the Lord or any paraphernalia that are used for the Lord's service is equal to Him, spiritually equal to Him. So I was talking the other day to one Mayavadi lady, because His Holiness Bhakti Marga Swami gave me the instruction of preaching in Cuba. So we did several programs, and there was a lot of people very interested in knowing more about our philosophy. So he instructed me to make a WhatsApp group or something like that and preach to the people. And to my surprise, we have a lot of people in those groups. And then, some of them, they are very inquisitive, extremely inquisitive. And many are influenced by the Mayavadi philosophy because they're Sikhs or they practice Kundalini yoga or, any of those things, all of those things. Well, this lady, he was very big time Mayavadi, but she was very respectful. She was not challenging. She wanted to know, and she could not understand why the absolute truth is a person, or why do we worship deities. And I was explaining her that because she calls the absolute truth the divine consciousness, or some energy flowing here and there. And I was trying to explain that that this is a Mayavadi philosophy, that it says that Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, because that's what they think, that the Brahman is the absolute truth of the reality, and everything else is just like an illusion. And so I was explaining her that if we address God, if we say that, if we agree that there is a presence of God, means that God is a person. It shouldn't be like some energy. Just like if I say, your name, her name was like Nate Dalis or something like that. Say, if I say Nate Dalis, I'm addressing you as a person. I'm not just calling some energy. So I was explaining her in different ways, but still she could not understand, And finally she accepted it because she started reading Prabhupada's books, The Perfection of Yoga. And then she read that Prabhupada at a certain point in the book mentioned that anything that is used in service of the Lord, or anything which comes out from the Lord, is not different from Him. It's a transcendental. And then she started chanting the holy name because, I don't know, she got some mercy. And then 4 or 5 days later, she told me, you know what? I still don't understand what you're saying, but when I chant this mantra, because Prabhupada said it's a transcendental, everything falls into the right place. And I said, that's what I'm talking about. You continue chanting that, and you continue reading the books, and everything will fall, into the right place. So this is what happened with Mayavadis, especially impersonalists and atheists, that they cannot understand that, first of all, the Lord is a person. And they believe that the absolute truth is a Brahman, impersonal Brahman. And when Krishna comes down, he accepts a material body, generally made out of sattva guna, like a very kind person and very with mystic powers and all these different features of sattva guna. So they cannot understand that he is transcendental to material nature. Indeed, that he is the basis of Brahman, impersonal Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham, he says in Bhagavad Gita. So, what to speak of understanding that when, if we try to explain that some, pond in India, like, Radha Kunda or Shama Kunda or Bindu Sarovar, are not different from him. This is something like completely inconceivable even for us. It's difficult to understand. But at least as devotees, we should accept these things, even if we cannot properly understand it. So, same thing happened with the Ganges. We all know the story how it descends from the spiritual world from the Garbhodaka ocean, from the water that the perspiration of the Lord. When Lord Vamanadeva pierced the coverings of the universe, then the the sacred Ganges came and he flows over the three universes, and this is glorified by many acharya. Shankaracharya, I think he wrote the Ganga Sutra, and there is a beautiful verse that I don't know why, but I used to hear this verse when I was a kid. I don't know why. It says that later on I learned the Sanskrit, but I learned the translation before. But it says Devi Sureswari Bhagavati Ganges Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Mauli Viharini Vimale. What's the last line? I forgot. Anyway, it says that oh Ganga Devi, your restless ways are qualified to purify the three creations, and therefore you frolic in the head of Lord Shiva. Therefore I ask you, Ganga Devi, please let me take shelter at your lotus feet. And our Srila Prabhupada many times explained how still in India there is a system that many people go to the Ganges to take a bath in there just for the sake of becoming purified. And not also in Hindu tradition or Hindu religion, but also we see that in other places people go to, according to their religions and tradition, they generally go to rivers and try to be purified from sinful activities. So the Ganges, as it says in this prayer of Sankaracharya, Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange, it comes from the spiritual world and purify the three creations. So the devotee, or in this case Shankaracharya, he asks Ganga Devi, let me take shelter or your lotus feet so that my mind can be purified. Because they understand that the Ganges is not different from the Lord. There is another thing that is not different from the Lord, and this is the Vaishnava. And this is one of the most amazing things in our philosophy, because in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said by the sages of Naimisaranya that Sutta, they addressed Sutta Goswami and they told him that if a person takes shelter of a lotus feet of another Vaishnava who had completely taken shelter of the feet of the Lord, he can be purified at once. Whereas if one takes shelter of the Ganges, he can be purified after prolonged use. Do you know that verse? No, it's not that. It's Yatpada Samsraya Sutaha Munaya Prasamayanaha Sadhya Punanti Upasprista Sad Puna. Okay, I'm going to find it because this is a beautiful verse. It's in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1:1 something. Oh, here it is, 15. Yat pada samsraya suta munaya prasamayanaha sadhya punanti upasprista swarduni apo nusevaya. They say, oh Sutta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the water of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. And that is a very nice purport, of course, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, the Vaishnava, this is another item or another, thing that is very, very transcendental. So that's why in our philosophy, there is always this strong address that we should take shelter of those Vaishnavas who have completely given his life to the service of the Lord and to the service of their spiritual master, because at once they can purify. There is another verse, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasa Avira Shumba Javana Kasadaya Yagnesha Papa Yadupasraya Sraha Tasmai Subdyante Pravavishnave Namaha. So that says that all these different races, the Kiratas, the Huna, the Andhras, the Pulindas, the Africans, the Greeks, the Turks, all the Malaysians, the Javanas, the South Americans, the Chinese, the Japanese, everyone can, and so many others who are addicted to so many sinful activities, they can be purified at once by taking shelter of the lotus feet of a person who is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the essence or the sum of substance of our philosophy, that one should approach a bona fide Vaishnava and then surrender unto him, and then from him we can learn how who the Supreme Lord is, what is our relationship with him, what is the process of attaining the supreme destination. And on the way we will learn all these different things, how the Lord is not different from his paraphernalia. There's another beautiful verse spoken by Uddhava. I really forget the Sanskrit of that verse, but it's very beautiful. It's Tvaya upabhokta shraganda vasolankara sharshitaha uchistabo dasam tava maya jayemahi. He says, oh my Lord, just by accepting all the paraphernalia that you have enjoyed, which is not different from you, like garlands, like oil, like garments, and uchistabo, by honoring the remnants of your prasadam, all of us spiritual servants, we can overcome the illusory energy of the Lord. So this is, when I first read that verse, remember, I was living in Russia, and it really got me, that verse, because Prabhupada was so expert in the way that he presented introduced our philosophy, because at this point I could not understand why somebody will come around and putting you some oil in your hand, and and then sometimes I will read or hear Prabhupada's memories, and Prabhupada was emphasizing that all the guests will take at least piece of Mahaprasadam or something. So I could not understand those things, or why it's so important that I saw senior devotees wearing garlands all day long. I said, wow, it's very unique. So I could not understand till I read this verse, and then I realized that, wow, these are transcendental items. We might see them in material because of our vision is not proper. Generally, we have material vision when we see things separate from the Lord, but actually, from the spiritual perspective, there is nothing which is material. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna, when he said that he remained covered, to the mudas, to the rascals, the materialistic persons, he say, Naham prakasya sarvasa yoga maya samavrita. So he doesn't say Mahamaya samavrita, because although we're covered as materialistic entities, generally we're under the control of Mahamaya. But from Krishna's perspective, from Krishna's view, there is no such thing as material and spiritual. Everything is spiritual. It's a spiritual energy. He sees Maya, which, or in this case, Yoga Maya, which generally is employed to bewilder, living entities in the spiritual world just for the sake of pastimes. And Mahamaya, which is used to bewilder the conditioned souls in this material world and to give them punishment. So he doesn't see that difference. He sees Yoga Maya only one energy, because he is from the spiritual perspective. And I remember hearing that, I don't know if this is true, but Archie the Prabhu, all the Prabhupada's disciples can correct me, that, what was his name of the poet that Prabhupada used to meet? Allen Ginsberg, that he came once to Prabhupada and he could not understand why, we were worshiping a deity. And then he said, well, the deity is something that is material, it's made out of material elements. And how can a material thing capture, spiritual reality? And then Prabhupada told him, well, actually material energy doesn't exist. Everything is spiritual. But of course, Prabhupada was also in that platform. He didn't see anything material. In fact, he learned, or he taught how to use everything material, or so-called material things in the service of the Lord. So he engaged devotees in, doing so many, quote-unquote materialistic activities, like selling books in the streets, or cooking like big amounts of bhoga for the Lord, and doing so many other activities, building temples, that many Mayavadis and other smarta brahmanas and people in India, they were criticizing Prabhupada, saying that that they were doing fruitive activities because they could not understand that activities, material activities which are used in the service of the Lord at once become spiritual. And there is also this verse in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau Brahma Hutau, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. That he said that the person, or that devotee who is fully engaged in spiritual activities, he will attain the spiritual kingdom because of the contribution of spiritual activities in which the consummation or the goal of that activities is also spiritual, and that which is offered is also spiritual. So you will see that the word Brahman is constantly repeated in the verse. Brahmarpanam Brahmagavir, Brahmagnau Brahmana Hutau, Brahmaiva te nagantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So the word Brahman is constantly repeated in this verse because it says that the person or the Brahmana or the spirit soul who engages in those spiritual activities, he is spiritual. And the items that are used, like Havir, like the butter, is also spiritual. And the result of those activities is not like a karmic activity. It's also spiritual. It's also Brahman. And therefore, he will attain spiritual reality. So, yeah, well, there are so many things that we can say about like how many items are transcendental in our philosophy, because everything is transcendental related to Krishna. But I will end the class right here because we don't have much time. If there is any questions or corrections or comments or something. Just Prabhu, please. Prema Sankirtan Prabhu ki jai.
You said, and it's written in scriptures, then, Krishna, everything what we see is his energy. So he's seeing everything in spiritual. It's not mind for him, everything is spiritual. But at the same time, Holy Scripture is no different from him, it's emanating from him. And in Scripture is mentioned, okay, this is distinction between material and spiritual energy. So how I can put together these two?
Wow, that's a good question. But since we are conditioned and we see, we have this dual vision, so therefore we have to understand scriptures in that way. Scripture has to be, reading in that way, so that you can make a difference between. You have to know what is material and what is spiritual. Just like we have to know what is Maya in order to surpass Maya. Indeed, there is a verse at the end of, not very quote in this verse. It's a kind of, almost nobody know this verse, but it's a very interesting. I'm going to find it right now. It's the last verse of the 7th chapter of the 2nd canto. It says, Mayam varnar yato musya ishvara shanumodata shrimnatan shraddaya nityam maya yatmana muhyati. Say that the Lord's activities in association with his different energies should be described. Different energies should be described, appreciated and heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion, respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord. So that's why mainly what Prabhupada did. He was only speaking about Maya constantly. You are in Maya, you are a fool, you are a rascal, you are attached to your wife, you are attached to your body, you are attached to this, you are attached to that. He was constantly speaking about the pastimes of Maya, pastimes of the Lord in relation to the material energy, so that we conditioned souls could understand what is the distinction between the two. So that can be an answer. I don't know if it's satisfying to you. Yes, Brigupari Prabhu. I'm sure he has a better answer than me.
Yeah, I think an analogy that Prabhupada would use, like to the government, the prison system is just another department. But when the government educates its citizens, it'll educate them, hey, this aspect of this system in the government, the prison system, you don't want to have any much to do with it. You want to avoid it,
Yeah.
So, but from the government, it's just another department, but they'll educate the citizens differently.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yes, exactly. Okay. Anything else? Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpataru Yasha Kripa Sindhu Vyaya Vacha, Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All glories to the assembled devotees. Haribol, Prabhu. No, what are you saying?
If you can just confirm for me today, so I can put it up.
Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham. Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govinda. Govinda Adipurusham. Tamaham bhajami Angani yasa sakalen Priya priti manti Vasyanti panti kayanti Tiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami. me